want to be loved. We all want to be heard. We all want to be understood. So how can people live their lives listening to each other?
I think that's a really great question, because often we think that by talking to each other, it just means that we are just literally just projecting our voices to each other, right? That's talking, but listening. What does it mean to listen? To listen doesn't necessarily mean that I just registered everything that you told me, and I may even, throw in a couple signs of confirmation, a couple or nods, or oh yeah, kind of throw those in. I mean, is that listening? I think that's just confirming that you know that the person's talking. But listening means that you sit down with someone, or I mean, it could be over the phone. It doesn't need to be face to face. The face to face would be the ideal, but it's when you listen and you don't speak, you don't interrupt. You sit there, and with as much eye contact as you can, you listen to the person that's talking, and you give them that voice, whether they're talking to tell you, to confirm. Maybe it's a command, maybe it's a question, whatever it may be. But to listen. Listening is harder than confirming, right? And then,
Yes.
yeah, and then extreme listening, like I mentioned, that means you're really, really listening, or, that's when you are listening to the person to learn from them and to find a commonality, find something that you can share a passion with this person. I call it the leaving the room effect. What I mean is, when you have a conversation with somebody who's different, when you're extreme listening to learn from someone, when you leave the room, when you're finished with that conversation, it's how you made the person feel about the discussion you just had. You may, I don't have to, I'm not talking to someone who's different than me to compromise my own beliefs, nor am I there to try to change theirs. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I want to have a leaving a room effect with them. So when we leave, they can sit there, and they can think to me, and when my name comes up, or when someone asks, "Oh, how was your conversation with that person?" That's when they may say something like, "Oh, I don't agree with them, but I like them. They're a good person. They listened."
Right.
You know, that's what the leaving a room effect is, and that's a result of extreme listening.
Do you find that someone will say something that kind of immediately triggers a stereotype, or you kind of think you have them figured out just by human nature, and then you kind of find yourself starting to backtrack? Because I would imagine we all are conditioned in some way to have perceptions of people, and when you first sit down with someone, it's just a natural tendency to just have kind of a stereotypical perception of maybe what the conversation will be like. And obviously your goal is to fight against that. Is there a time when you kind of felt that thought process happening, where you went, oh wow, I had this person all figured out all incorrectly?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I love what you just said, because that ties perfectly with the minimalistic mindset. See, when I approach someone to have a conversation with them, my minimalistic mindset is there. I've already decided how I'm going to react to this conversation, in the case that the person may even question you, attack you, or just kind of throw their opinion on you, because they're controlling the narrative in the beginning. Because we're there to listen. With these conversations, you are listening to the person. You're not doing a lot of the talking. As a matter of fact, you're doing very little talking.
Yeah.
Very little talking. And my minimalistic mindset tells me I'm not there to attack them. I'm not there to debate them. I'm there to find a commonality. Because, see, the opposite would be, when I speak to someone who's different than me, well, I can immediately react. When they say something, they may even say something about me, or they may say, well, this is what's wrong with the world. This is what they're doing. This is why they're wrong, right? So, some of those comments,
Right. You're shifting the blame or reshifting the
exactly.
blame. Jonathan, it takes a very mature mindset to kind of clear the noise. Do you do a lot of meditation?
I do. I do. I enjoy meditation. I enjoy meditation, and I try to incorporate it in my kind of my everyday. When I'm maybe sitting on on the train, or if I'm in a car, if I'm just walking. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll turn the music off. I'll take my headphones out. I'll silence my phone, and I'll just sit there in silence, and I let my mind and my thoughts, and I kind of let everything kind of fade out. All the noise, text messages, the music. I turn all of that off and focus on me.
It's kind of like you're bringing that same mindset to the conversations you have, where you're
Mm-hmm.
starting from a place of emptiness in a good way, like kind of a clean slate. And it's that kind of same mindset that is often what people strive for when they meditate, is having a clean slate and clearing out your mind of all the noise and all the preconceived notions.
Yeah, it takes time, and I'm not perfect. I'm trying. I'm trying. And it'll very likely take the rest of my life to be able to talk to as many people as I can, because my goal is to change the world every day. And it's a cause that's a lot bigger than myself. And I would even add that by having a minimalistic mind and a minimalistic way to have these conversations, how that can help is, instead of filling those gaps of difference, of maybe anger that you might have with people that disagree with you, instead of filling those differences with anger and unnecessary social distractions, fill that gap in with commonality. Fill it in with what you want to learn from the person, and go into the conversation with that solely being the focus.
Yes, you focus on the commonality to break